Hi, welcome to Baby Narc. Well, my private investigation and stalking leads me down roads I don't want to go. So I feel like shit right now. But you know what? In the end, it will probably be good that I catch Brian the way that I do and have, because I need to get the message. He does not love me. He doesn't really like me. He has no plans for me. He doesn't want me around. It's like, when am I gonna get the message? So, a little while ago, I went on his YouTube page. And, you can see a title before you watch the video. And he's got this weird thing that says, call me a loser to my face. I'm like, okay. And then, the picture of him, in the still picture from the video, he looks visibly upset. So I watch it, and it's, once again, the other message I need to get is that even if this man treated me great and was in love with me, blah, 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 I don't really like him either. Let's be real. He's embarrassing. And, I struggle with, trying to decipher my own feelings. Do I just get upset with him, and then the things I don't like about him are just magnified because I'm upset? Or if we really did have a wonderful relationship, would I still eventually not be so into him? I think a lot of, that's the whole basis of narcissism, is wanting someone that you can't have, getting that person to like you and pay attention to you, even if you don't even feel the same way about them. That's narcissism. But I think all of us, we all want what we can't have. And I think that much of my obsession, not the love part, because I am in love with him and it is real, it really is, but the obsessive, compulsive, never ending, investigation and stalking him, I think a lot of it is just because, I'm trying to win some sort of prize. But the prize is faulty. He's no prize. He's a prized pig. Yeah. So anyway, so he's got this video, and it's just him with this hand weight, doing like, curls and bicep curls, I guess. And kind of waving it around at the camera, and then he'll flip the camera off and then go back to doing some more arm exercises with this big, huge weight. And he's got this really angry look on his face, and he just doesn't say anything. And then he flips the camera off one more time and turns off the video. And I'm like, oh God, what does this mean? Because all of his crazy mania that most people would think that's weird and meaningless and what, but there's always some meaning in it. And that's the part that gets you, is I pass off, or I used to pass off all the things that he does and says. And hindsight 2020, I look back and I'm like, oh, that meant something. And it's never good. So immediately, because I'm starting to know him, I'm immediately like, uh-oh, he's got a beef with some dude. And of course, I also feel it's Samantha's boyfriend. I mean, come on. Of course, Brian has problems with lots of people, so who knows? But I had that feeling. It's like, uh-oh. So I looked on his social media that, he's hit up the entire world. You're probably one of his followers at this point, or he'll hitch up to me. He's friended the whole world. And I noticed now, Sean is the guy's name. I noticed Sean has magically disappeared from his list of fans, along with me, and along with his son too. And I'm kind of upset about that. And there's something else going on there. Something else is brewing. His daughter's still on, but whatever. And of course, Samantha's still on. Okay, so a little while later, I look at the YouTube page again. Now he's got a song on there. And of course, I'm watching it. And of course, it's to Shitmantha. And it starts out, I want to take you away. Come home to me, baby. You're in this struggle by yourself, but you don't have to be. I'm here. Blah, 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 blah. And then he goes into another old song that he always told me was a Shelley song, but it's a Shitmantha song, but from long ago. And, and then he's singing both of these songs, one and then the other one. Then he starts talking and he's like, I just can't get you out of my head, Shitmantha. He says the name, so I knew. Oh, duh. And come home to me. Why are you with him? Why does it have to be him? And then the video cuts off. And, it devastates me. The only thing is, though, is this happens all the time. And a couple of points I want to make in this video is, and of course, my points are, I like this channel because hopefully something I say will, trigger someone out there in some sort of way to, either just feel better about their situation or trigger them to, be like, oh, okay, I need to get out of my situation, so I'm hoping that my videos help somebody, but they're cathartic for me to sit and chit chat about it. And then also, I want like a record to be able to go back later and watch these videos. And they do. Sometimes I do rewatch them and I'm trying to be my own therapist and trying to, document all these things that happen with him just to prove to myself that, man, I mean, he treats me like shit. And he not only just treats me like shit, like doing and saying bad things to me, but just, the fact that he's at home writing songs to another woman and mad at her boyfriend. Oh, and by the way, they're engaged. I looked on both of their social media pages and it says they are engaged. Both of them say that. And he, he hasn't talked to me. And, I need to, once again, get the message into my crazy brain that this dude, he has made no effort to be with me. He fucks everything up when he gets the opportunities to be with me, to hang out with me, talk to me on the phone, whatever. Something always happens. The other day he was in my house. He was here for 1 second and had to run out the door to go smoke a cigarette. Like, he doesn't want to be around me. And then the other thing is that, you know, he is in love with this woman now in a narcissistic sort of way. And narcissists do love, or at least this one does. And he is in love with Samantha, and he is in love with Shelley. And I think at one point he was in love with me, based on my feelings. Of course, I could be wrong, but I'm sure that a lot of his love for Samantha is the fact that, she doesn't love him back, and she's with another guy, and she's always with a guy. She is always with a dude, always. And, so, if she was like, okay, Brian, I'm ready to be yours, let's run off into the sunset, how long would that last? You know what I'm saying? So anyway, so he is, I always say this, but he is taking that super expensive guitar that I gave to him as a gift, a birthday gift, a couple of years ago. And also because, I wanted him to use it to, start his career, start recording, maybe even start playing live somewhere, and he is sitting around in his parents' garage, that dirty, filthy garage that he won't clean up, late at night after work, not calling me. I'm not in that garage. He's sitting around writing love songs to this other woman, and in some sort of beef with her boyfriend, fiance, and he is willing to break them up to be with her. So even if things worked out with him, let's say they did, let's say he and I, let's say he really does have feelings for me, and we really did start a real relationship, which is impossible, but whatever. Let's just say that magically happened. At any moment, he would leave me for her. The second she has a problem with this guy, breaks up, whatever, and the other thing is, I don't want to be with a man who is sitting around pining after some other woman, and the only reason he's with me is just because I'm, second choice. Really, technically third, because Shelley would be first choice. Let's put it this way. That's the fucked up situation. If Shelley left her husband, Brian would get with her, even if he was with Samantha. And if he and I were together, and obviously Shelley broke up with her husband, he would dump me and go with her. But if Samantha got away from her man, he would dump me and go with her. So I'm third choice, and who knows? Maybe I'm not even third. Maybe there's somebody else out there. Every moment spent around this guy and spying on him, I find more stuff. Recently he's, got all these new followers. Who the fuck knows? So back to the real reason of this video. I'm going to call this Shitmantha number 2, because I wanted to make a video about her. She is a bad person. And I'm not just saying that. I know you're like, whatever. No. Samantha's a bad person. She's a raging drug addict, and she's a drug dealer. And I will say this, not to say that Brian has never sold drugs ever, 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 ever. But if he ever has, it's been to someone he knows. And it was, he is not a drug dealer. And I've always complimented, so sick. I have always complimented him on that. He could have, because that's the drug world. Most people who do drugs, sell them and do them, and he doesn't. And he's always said that he doesn't want to push his pain off onto someone else. And I admire that. I know as sick and crazy as that is, once again, reason number 10,281, whatever, that I need to get away from him, raging drug addict. And I shouldn't even be having this conversation, but nevertheless. But her, on the other hand, yeah, she's a drug dealer. Yeah. And she mostly deals in pharmaceuticals, but she doesn't work. It's like, where is she? I'm assuming that she is on, medication, and she probably sells her own. But she sells a lot, so where is she getting this from? Is she a thief? I don't know. Oh, and by the way, I know I'm crazy. I'm crazy too. I paid for one of those background check things. Actually, honestly, when I first got together, whatever you want to call it, with Brian, and he started being weird, I bought that service to run a check on him. That's how I found out about his DWI. Although he was upfront with me about that, he did tell me about it. And that is his only criminal record. Shitmantha, on the other hand, yeah, she's got a record. And a lot of it is DWIs, which I really have a problem with. Getting into a motor vehicle when you're fucked up and driving around, you're putting people in danger. And there's no excuse for that. It's not like, if you're a drug addict and you do drugs or alcoholic, it's like, oops, I can't help myself. But you don't have to get behind the wheel. That's a 100% choice. It's not like, oops, how did I end up here? No, come on. So I really have a problem with that. And people who've done it multiple times, people who have a record multiple times, it means that they've done it even more than what they got caught for. So she probably just drives around constantly all fucked up because she doesn't give a shit about anybody because she's a bad person. And then she's got some theft on there. Then I ran a background check. Oh no, I'm terrible. Then I ran a background check on Sean, her fiance. Whoa, he's really got a record. And they have both, now they've never been in full-on prison that I can see on this report, but they have served some jail time. And I don't mean like overnight. Both of them. So he's got a record a mile long, mostly theft. And apparently he doesn't work either. How do these people not work, Even if you were a thief, you would have to commit like armed bank robbery to support yourself. Like, how does that work? Well, I guess that they're just scavengers, that's why they sell drugs and, so whatever. No, they're living out of a motel, which honestly, here's another thing. Living in a motel is expensive. It's more expensive than getting an apartment. But of course, I guess they probably can't get an apartment, because of their record. And, if they've got criminal record, on this report, it doesn't really show financial stuff. But can you imagine? I'm sure they probably, their credit is probably so jacked up they can't get a normal place. So anyway, so they're living in a motel. Okay, so back to Shitmantha being a shitty person. So, the only reason she's with this guy is because he's got a place to live. I don't think she's in love with him. I really don't. Maybe, whatever. So, the other thing is, if she did get with Brian, where's she going to live? In his room at his parents' house? And, she's known Brian for, decades now. So, she knows how he is, and he's lived in that house forever, and she knows he ain't moving. So, and she's a scavenger, she's a user, she's an abuser, she's horrible. So, part of, oh, you know what? Oh, that's probably why. Okay. See how it all works out. So, the title of Brian's first video tonight was Call Me a Loser to My Face. That was the title of it. So I bet that's what happened. I bet Sean was telling Samantha that Brian's a loser. So, which kettle calling the pot black, or however that saying goes. My goodness. Hey, that's a real dig when a complete drug dealing, unemployed, motel living loser calls you a loser. Wow, that had to hurt. That had to sting a little bit. Okay, so yeah, and then I think in one of my videos I said this, but I'll just reiterate real quick. A month or so ago, Samantha or Sean told Brian to ask Samantha to come over and have a talk with her because apparently she is cheating on Sean. So I guess they haven't had a car in a long time. Well, they get a car, and now I guess she is sort of working. I guess she's doing like food delivery. And I mean, she's not doing pizza delivery with Brian, although she has, but so I guess now that they've got this car that they're sharing, and who knows, maybe Sean paid for it. I mean, who knows? Who knows these scavengers? So apparently now she's stepping out on him now that she's got this car. Like, he can't ever find her. So Brian had Samantha come over to him and his parents' house. He has a talk with her about her relationship. And so, and see, that's the other thing. Like, did Brian sit there and go, Sean's a great guy and you shouldn't fuck this up? Or did he sit there and say, get away from that guy, be with me? Who knows? Who knows? I mean, I can't trust him. So she leaves. And then about 1 o'clock, whatever, 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, Sean comes banging on Brian's window. Like, not even, it's so weird. It's like high school or something. So he bangs on his window and Brian comes outside and he's like, is Samantha here? And Brian's like, no, she left like hours ago. So apparently she is cheating on Sean, So, in the only car that they have. Oh my God. So once again, she is a shit Mantha because she's a shitty person. Okay. So she's a drug dealer, a multi DWI offender, theft. She's a thief, multi times because, you don't just get caught unless you're the most unlucky person in the world. You don't just do one bad thing, get caught for it. So she's got a record of being a thief and, an intoxicated driver. And some fraud, I think a check fraud or something, I don't know. So anyway, and then of course so does her fiance. And so all of that drama, see, once again, reason number 11,001,872 that I need to get away from this whole brood of vipers. They're just horrible people. My God, it's just never ending. Okay, so another thing. A long time ago, Brian, this was a couple of years ago. This was before Shitmantha got Brian to move into her house with her. And of course, she made it sound like they were going to be together. This is how he got sick and got pneumonia and ended up in the hospital. You have to watch my other Shitmantha video. Before that happened, and of course, she tricked him. She just wanted somebody to help her pay bills, Joke's on her, though, because, he like got tired of that with it. I mean, I think he was there for, a month, maybe 2 of that, because then he skipped out on her, so whatever. Probably another reason why she doesn't want to be with Brian. Because she wants a man to take care of her. She's not looking for love. She's looking for money and drugs. And Brian doesn't sell drugs, so he can't help her there. He can only buy her drugs that she sells, not buy drugs for her. Okay, so before she had gotten him to move in, this was a few months before that, he tells me that she got her church to pay like 2 months of her mortgage. She was living in a pretty nice house. I'll tell you that in a minute, how she got there. Yeah. And then his beef with her about that was, but of course, the way he looks at things is so fucked up. I'm looking at it as that's gross. Like, you would get a church to help pay your mortgage when you don't even work. She won't work, it's like gross. And, but he was mad at her because her church kept calling her, not wanting the money back, but wanting her to, continue going to church there. So basically she got the money from them and then just never came back. God, you would get a church, you would get, good Christian people to give you money to pay your mortgage because you won't work, and then you don't even have the freaking, just, I don't even know the word, but like, you don't have enough fucking appreciation to even just attend church afterwards. Man, I'd be up there every day, and I'd be like, hey, can I do something around the church? Shoot, I'd be, cleaning the toilet, something, come on. But, she's a shitty person. She is Shitmantha. Okay, so, how she got that house was she was, now I don't know if they were married, but she was with, some cop, and, her story is that he beat her or whatever, which, may not be true, or hell, I want to beat her. She's horrible. Just kidding. I'm just teasing. Nobody deserves to be beaten. But yeah, so, this cop, so they have a baby, and that's another thing. I think she has 6 kids, and I'm pretty sure there's 3 different dads. So this cop, there's another guy somewhere, and then this other guy, Lynn, that's actually one of Brian's friends, although he's a drug dealer too. God, oh my God. At least he owns a car dealership, just like a used car dealership. But man, see, that's the other thing about these people. Even when they do have a decent job, they still have to do hardcore drugs and sell them. Like, gross. I mean, isn't the point that you sell drugs because you don't have a means of income? But see, that's not how they think. They get off on bringing pain and, devastation to other people. Like, they don't care. Oh, it's just sick, Okay. So, yeah, so this church pays her mortgage. And then I guess a couple months after that, she was probably out of money, and that's why she asked Brian to move in. So she was willing to use Brian, like, he is madly in love with her, writing songs, singing songs, about her and to her on the beautiful, expensive guitar that I bought him, and I live down the street. And, it's just a loop of sadness, really. It's just all sad. Okay. Now, another thing about Shitmantha. I was over at Brian's house, and this was a couple of years ago. And he and I and his mom were talking about Samantha, just like a real quick thing, because, and that's the other thing. He's so obsessed with her. He always talks about her, so he's always talking about her. He's always talking about Shelly. It's like, why would I want to be with a guy who does that? Like, gross, I mean, I was in love with another guy. I could talk about him. I don't. It's rude. And plus, I'm I'm trying to build something with Brian. I don't want to hang out with Brian and talk about John. I don't want to do that. Why would I do that? Like, you're thwarting the efforts of trying to build a really good relationship with a new person. But he doesn't think that way. He's just, all backwards. So we're chit-chatting about Samantha just real quick, and Brian says, I forgot what he said exactly, but something about she has all these kids and she doesn't take care of them. And his mom, yeah, she had something to say about that. Yeah, she started in, she's like, oh my God, she started talking shit about Samantha. And that was a long time ago. So that was really kind of before we've had so much problems, between us about her. But the way his mom talked about her, I could tell, man, and it was true. So, she just goes around having men's children because that links her to the guy. And, I'm sure she hits him up for child support, and then Lynn, he actually basically raised, 4 of her kids, and either 1 or 2 of them aren't his, And then, of course, our party that we had, that he booked out of here, he invited her and Sean to my party, and I said no, and then he left to go hang out with them or whatever he did. But, man, he just treats me so bad. It's like ridiculous. It is ridiculous. I can't even believe that I've let this go on this long. I usually don't, I mostly have good people in my life. We've all had shitty people in our lives, but I usually quickly get away from people if I can, if they're a boss or a family member or something. But, it's my love. It's my love for him that has kept this, wheel spinning. And, it's just got to stop. It has to stop. But yeah, Shitmantha, man, she is a shitty person. Oh, one other thing. So, how I first found out about her was that he called me in the middle of the night after ghosting me for a month and says, hey, I've been living with this chick. And of course, I guess they had a falling out because they started doing drugs again. And that's why he was all upset. And so he basically just uses me as somebody to talk to about her. But one of the very first things that he said about Shitmantha was that when he was living with Shelley, and they were together, I guess, for like 8 years. Now, I'm sure that they would break up and get back to, whatever, but the course of 8 years. And their little daughter, although she's a grown woman now, but she was about 2 years old. And Shelley went off with the Aryan Brotherhood into the woods, into, I guess, a mobile home or whatever, to cook meth. And I guess what happened was some dude that they all knew got out of prison, and she ran off with him, and I guess he was connected to that group. And yeah, she went off into the woods with all of them, and I'm sure she probably in a way kind of got raped, but these people, they just don't, everything's so evil about them and so gross. So she leaves Brian and their toddler daughter, and she, didn't come back. And he wrote a song about looking out the window and the blinds, like constantly moving the blinds around to see if she was, coming back. And she didn't. Oh, by the way, now this is Shelley we're talking about, not Shitmantha, her sister. But she stole. So I guess they didn't have a car at the time, and they were borrowing Brian's sister's car. She took off in that car. and she was gone for, I guess 3 days. And yeah, I think it was 3 days. And then finally, Samantha comes over to their apartment and tells Brian, Shelly's not coming back. So I'm here to, get the little baby. And so she picks the baby up, drives her to, because she's like, where should I take her? And Brian's like, take her to my mom's house. So she takes her to his mom's and drops her off, which was a good thing, And then she comes back, and here's how Brian says it. He says, yeah, and then, like about an hour later, she comes back and with a bunch of beer, and she fucks me. And that's how he said it. So right then I knew, and this was back then, this was in the beginning of our relationship, and I knew right then Samantha had always been jealous of Shelly. Now here's the deal, and this sounds mean, and I'm not saying it to be mean. I'm not, I really am not. This is the truth. And, I could show you pictures of these people, and it's the truth. Shelly is a beautiful girl. I mean, beautiful, like, like model pretty. Samantha, not so much. They don't even look alike. Now, I'm sure, because, their family's so fucked up, I'm sure that there's either, they either don't have the same, well, they have the same last name, so I don't think they have the same mom. But I could be wrong about that. Who knows? Yeah, I could be, whatever. I don't think they're completely 100% sisters, but they don't look anything alike. And Shitmantha, she's ugly. I'm just being straight up. I mean, I'm being honest about Shelly. Shelly's beautiful. Now, of course, she's not so pretty now. I've seen some recent pictures, just on social media. She kind of blew up, but hey, don't we all? Whatever. But like Samantha's not pretty. So I'm sure she's always been jealous of Shelly. So probably this opportunity to, now whether she liked Brian or not, because she's so seedy, she's just, and I mean, you don't just all of a sudden become a bad person. Bad people, they're bad for a long time. So I'm sure she was a bad person then. And of course, Shelly was a piece of shit. So yeah, so I'm sure that the only reason that she fucked Brian, and that's how he said it, he didn't say, we fucked, I fucked her, we had sex, we made love. He didn't say it that way. She came over with a bunch of beer and fucked me. So I'm sure that it was some sort of, revenge fuck, whatever, on her sister. So she's probably like, my sister is out of here, and, whatever. Now, I've never heard anything else about that story. He has never, and he loves to talk about Samantha, so I'm sure he would tell me. He's never said, oh, and then we were together, or she stayed with me for a week, or nothing. I guess they just fucked, and that was the end of that. But then I guess they, remain friends, whatever. And of course, here's the other thing about Brian. Brian is really into friendship. And, sorry, I don't know what that is exactly. I don't know. I don't know if it's a weird deal with him, or it's a narcissist thing. I don't know. But, I mean, maybe a narcissist thing, because, friendship is an arm's length's distance away from somebody. Friendship is not romance. And maybe, there's a little bit of a disconnect when you're friends with somebody. It's not the same as lovers. And, maybe, I don't know. That's kind of a weird thing. I might have to check into that. But, so I think here's what I think about why he's in love with Samantha. I think that obviously she did kind of come to his rescue and rescued their daughter. I mean, not their daughter, but, his daughter, Shelley's daughter. And so that had to psychologically do something to him. And, they were young back then. He was like 23, I guess. So that probably sealed the deal. And then they remained friends. And she has always had some man in her life because she's always trying to get with guys, have their baby, so they'll support her. And that probably has kind of mind fucked Brian in a way where he's, once again, you always want somebody that you can't have. And if she's always with some other dude, and then he's always waiting around in the wings, for her. Oh, part of that song tonight was about I've been waiting on you. So the rescuing him and his daughter, the friendship deal for decades now, and she's a drug dealer, so if he needs drugs he can get them from her. I'm sure she probably sometimes gives him freebies, or he'll owe her money, because he does that a lot. He'll owe people money. So the thing, his first love, which is drugs, she supplies that. So that's got to be a psychological thing too. And then the other thing that I thought about tonight when I heard that song is she is a damsel in distress. She is a low-life scumbag, unemployed, motel living, police record having scumbag druggie. And she's super skinny. Ooh, I mean, like, scary skinny. Ugh. And I think that, men well, I mean, maybe, I know things are changing now, but, and the other thing is, Brian is a misogynist. And I didn't really know that, but lately, this past year, I've really seen it. He has said a lot of things, and, what was his other song about how he wants to be with a Muslim girl because she'll be in a burqa and she'll be covering up, her body. I was like, okay, that's weird. And then he talked about it for about a week. It was kind of weird. He's like, that's what I really want. I was like, okay. It's weird. But anyway, and then he was like, hey, would you wear a burqa? I'm like, hell no. So, and then he said different things about that. And I think that, he is that old school thinking that, men want to protect a woman and to save a woman. And, all these feminists these days wondering why they can't get a man, it's because men don't think that way. Men don't want you to be a complete loser, but men, part of their job, now this, whether this is wrong or right, this is just a society thing, maybe if we'd never been taught that ever on earth, it might be different, but the way it works now is men are the hunter. They like chasing after a woman. They like saving her. They like the damsel in distress, and she is all of those things. And I'm not. Now, I'm not a feminist, but I got my shit together. And I'm not a druggie. And I'm not, high and scary skinny and living out of a motel and have a bunch of kids I can't take care of and not having a job and, depressed. And I guess at some point she's been a little bit suicidal, who wouldn't be, living like that. And I think that's another thing that separates me and her in his mind. I don't need saving. I've been trying to save him, and maybe he doesn't like that. And, I don't need him to take care of me. I mean, it'd be nice if he would, but, you know, I've got my shit together. And he always says that, oh, you've really got your shit together. And, you know, and I'm overweight. So, and maybe there's some weird thing about that too, psychologically. I don't know. Maybe her being scary skinny is part of her, help rescue me thing. I'm starving to death. Of course, she's starving because she's doing drugs all the time. But, like, I'm a thick chick with a nice place to live and a great job and my shit together. And, I do artwork, I play drums, I've got a lot going for me. And she has nothing going for her. So, and Brian is such a loser. I mean, he's like one step above her. So maybe that's another thing. How is he going to offer anything to me? Although what I want from him is his time and his love. But, he can't provide for me. He's always going to fall short of what I already do for myself. And to her, I mean, he's not a loser to her. He has a job. It's a shitty job, but he's got a job. He lives with his parents, but at least he's living in a house, not a motel that he has to pay for every day. He doesn't have a car, but he shares one with his parents, and her fiance, I guess they have one car and they're sharing it, so in Brian's eyes, he is probably thinking, I'm so much better than the guy that you're with. Be with me. That's pretty much what he said in that song. And he's not that for me. I mean, he's many steps below me. And, maybe that doesn't feel good. I don't know. There's so much weird psychology involved in the whole thing. And two, this woman has been in his life intermittently for decades now. And I just came onto the scene a couple of years ago. And, so I guess he doesn't have, and, he always says, she knows me. You just don't know me the way she knows me, whatever. But I don't know. There's a lot going on as to why he pushes me away and why he would want her. But bottom line, I mean, she is a shitty fucking person. And that's the other point I want to make, and then I'll end this video, and it's getting long here. The other thing I have to wrap my brain around is Brian's not a good person. He wants to be. He tries to be. He fronts like he is. Maybe he thinks he is, but he's not. He's kind of a shitty dude. And the more and more I get to, we used to just bullshit, on the phone and stuff like that, and him play me songs. We don't talk a whole lot, but lately we have been talking more, and he's been revealing more things. I want to say opening up, but that's not really what it is, because he's very closed off to me. But he has been revealing more and more stuff about himself. And that's how I recently, just this year, realized, wow, he's a misogynist. I mean, like, really. And, I have no problem with the roles of men and women. I'm not one of these people who's like, oh, we have to change all of the roles now. It's like, whatever, people just, whatever role you want to be, just do that. There's nothing wrong with guys who are more misogynist, old school thinking, as long as it doesn't hurt people. But There's nothing wrong with thinking that way or thinking progressively. It doesn't matter. It's whatever. But it has been a real eye-opener to, how he is that I didn't really know. But that's not what I'm saying about him being a bad person, but he just is a bad person. He really is. He has revealed a lot of things to me. And, and the simple fact that he just can't get along with anybody. And his whole little fan club that he's got going on right now, I can guarantee you that he's going to piss somebody off. In fact, I thought it was weird when I first saw that one video tonight about call me a loser to my face. He's shaking his fist at the camera and flipping it off and then doing his arm weight and stuff. It's like really embarrassing, but whatever. First I was like, oh shit, who's he got something going on with now? And then of course I was like, oh, okay, it's Bryce Smith's man, whatever. And it was, obviously. But nevertheless, he's got problems with people. And the other thing about Shitmantha and Shelley, they are really bad women. And they have been bad. And it's not just the drugs. There are people who do drugs and drink and gamble and everything else that aren't horrible, shitty people. And the fact that he is madly in love with both of them and not me, that says something. That has always kind of been like a weird feeling deep within me too, that I kind of couldn't put my finger on. It's like, just like his song tonight, why do you want to be with him and not me? Well, I'm like, why would you want to be with those two and not me? I'm a really good person. Not to say I don't do shitty things. I mean, we all do, but I mean, overall, I'm like a really good person. And I'm different from all of the, just gutter trash that he has had in his life. And for him to, if he would have loved those women because he had no other option, but me coming onto the scene, being like this, bright, sunny butterfly of goodness, it's like, come with me, things can be good. And him pushing that away and running back to that shit, that means he's not a good person. So yeah. So Shitmantha, she's a piece of shit. And I think Brian is too. I don't want to believe that, but I think he is. And I'm starting to really get grossed out by him. When I think about him, when we talk, even when he was at my house the other day, I'm kind of like, oh, because you know what? I am a good person. And yes, I have found myself accidentally in love with a bad person. But because I'm a good person and I seek goodness in people and I want to be around goodness, I want to be around positivity and light, not darkness and betrayal and seediness and underhanded, secretive, I don't like that. I'm not drawn to that. That's what pushes me away. And I love Brian. I am still in love with him. But now that his mask is completely off and I really see him for who he is and who he has been the whole time that I lived in another state, and he's revealing all these things, I'm just really getting the picture that the man that I'm in love with, and I know I keep saying that, the man that I'm in love with is some other unreal version in my head of this man. It's not the reality. And see, that's why I don't want to do online dating, because I don't want to get into another situation where I meet some guy and he, shows me a different version of himself, and then I get entangled with that. So, but yeah, I'm finally, such a long time, such a waste of time. I'm finally getting it into my thick skull that this guy is just not for me. I need to wish him well, wish him the best, and be done with him. Because life is short, and I have so much love within me, and I'm a fun, happy-go-lucky person. I love excitement. I love going and doing things. I love enjoying life. I love enjoying people. And I need someone by my side who mirrors that. And, he was singing a song about, I want you by my side. I want you home with me. I want to take you, I forget how he said it, but I want to take you out of this hell that you're in. I think he did say hell. He wants to rescue a raging drug addict from her horrible hell. And, God bless him. I hope that happens. But these people are just not for me. And Brian is not for me. And I'm not for him. He does not deserve me, because I have given him all of me and he has just freaking thrown it on the ground and stomped on it. I was a blessing in his life and he just shoved it away. And he has shown me in every way, even without Samantha, he has just proven to me time and time and time and time and time and time again that he does not want me. And it's just not going to work out. And it hurts me. Man, it just, I feel like crying. I feel like throwing up. I feel like throwing something. I feel like I just have all these horrible feels. And I hope they go away soon. But I've got to come to grips with it, that this man is everything that I should not be with. And when I do finally get away from him long enough, I think I'm going to look back and go, ooh. And I asked myself that tonight. I said, if all of a sudden, okay, let's say I was with Brian. Let's say I'm with Brian and things are okay, whatever. And then all of a sudden I meet the right guy. Now that'd be a tricky situation. Then I would have to hurt Brian to go and be with this guy that I'm supposed to be with. And, I that would be worse. So I need to bide my time and just rely on the fact that God does have the right guy out there for me. And I need to just slow down and stop putting any more effort and energy into this man that I should not be with. So I have to get the message. Well, I have the message, but now I gotta run with it. And, I gotta separate myself from him and wait for God to bring me the right guy. Because he's out there. We all have someone that, whether you believe it's meant to be or not, but we all have someone that we gel with. And Brian and I just don't gel. We are two different people from two different worlds with two different ideas of how things should work. And, I don't even want all of those shitty people that are in his life. I don't want those people to be in my life. I mean, can you imagine? That's another thing. What if Brian was the best, partner to me, not for me, but to me, like we got along great, blah 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 blah. But then his whole entourage are shitty drug dealing druggies, and I don't want that in my life. No offense to anyone else. Don't mean to sound like I'm judging. I know it sounds that way, but I'm just saying for my own life, I don't want to be around all that. I just don't, I don't like snakes, and I'm not going to get with a guy who has a bunch of snakes. I mean, real snakes, not snake people. Yeah, Brian's people, they're a bunch of snakes too, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, that's just not my thing. I don't, nothing against snakes, but I don't want to be with a guy who, has glass cases of them. So I also don't want to be around a bunch of drug addicts and drug dealers. Brian is the only one that I was willing to go down that road with. That's been hard enough. I mean, can you imagine, like, what if, like, I'm at work and he's got one of his buddies over here and they, like, steal my shit, Like, I don't. Yeah, anyway. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's enough. So, yeah. So, Shitmantha. She's horrible. Horrible person. Brian is madly in love with her. And that says something. I mean, about him being a shitty person, too. And it also says something that he doesn't love me. He doesn't. And I gotta pound that into my brain. I think I've said it like 18 times during this video. Brian does not love me. He loves another woman. It's not me. Get that through your head. I'll watch this video later. Okay. If you're with a narcissist, get away from them, because it just ain't gonna work out. And you don't deserve that, If you don't want to be with a guy with a bunch of snakes, you also don't want to be with a guy or girl that's a narcissist. It's horrible. It really is. You'll be up at, 2:00 in the morning making videos in your apartment about how much pain you're in about some shitty thing that they did to you. Yeah, you don't want to go down that road. So if you're with a narcissist, get away from them as soon as possible. It's the only way. Sorry. No one wants to hear that, but that is the truth. Okay, bye.